The German aerial bombing campaign against the British Isles during World War II caused immense damage to housing, businesses, and of course historic buildings, and huge loss of life.
The first blow, aimed to crush the British spirit, came on September 7th. That day, when 375 German planes came roaring up the Thames River, the Battle of Britain became the Battle of London. The Germans broke through the charge of Hurricanes and Spitfires that went out to meet them. Gone was any pretense of aiming at military objectives. This was just savage destruction.
It was carried out at the behest of the head of the Luftwaffe, Reichsmarschall Hermann Göring, and the scars are still visible today. The danger posed by unexploded German bombs also remains very real, almost 8 decades after the end of the war. I've made several videos about this fascinating subject. Due to the skill and bravery of British Army and Royal Navy bomb disposal teams, German bombs, when they are accidentally discovered, are diffused or made safe, preventing an explosion that would cause property damage and disruption. But as recently as 2021, a German bomb exploded, causing serious damage in the centre of an English city, making it, for the time being, the last successful attack by Göring's Luftwaffe on Britain. It was not an outcome that bomb disposal or the police were very happy with, and led to an ugly lawsuit with a German insurance company over financial compensation for the damage done by a German bomb. The action began on Friday, 26th of February 2021, on Glenthorne Road, Exeter, a small city in the county of Devon on England's south coast. Construction work was underway on a site adjacent to the University Halls of Residence, a care home, and some private properties, when a digger driver uncovered what was initially identified as a large, thick piece of old pipework. Considering the digger's shovel struck the object a couple of times before actually lifting it out of the earth, it is a small miracle that the bomb didn't detonate instantaneously. What the digger driver had in fact found was a Hermann, the World War II nickname for the German SC-1000 high-explosive bomb, due to its great bulk, an insult to Hermann Göring, the corpulent head of the Luftwaffe. But it was no joke. The bomb's tail unit was long gone, but the casing remained intact. The SC-1000 was, as the name suggests, a 1,000 kilogram or 2,200 pound bomb designed specifically to demolish buildings. During the war, German aircraft dropped a variety of unpleasant aerial devices on Britain, from the 1 kilogram firebomb Fritz, an ingenious incendiary device that probably did more damage than any of the other high-explosive bombs, and 50, 250, 500 and 1,000 kilogram high-explosive blast bombs, and the dreadful 1,800 kilogram Satan bomb. They also employed parachute mines that were some of the most devastating and feared devices used against Britain. 278 centimeters long or 109 inches, including tail, the SC-1000 was filled with a mixture of 40% amatol, high explosive, and 60% trotyl, and its blast radius was enormous. How it ended up buried in Exeter was due to a bombing campaign initiated by Hitler in 1942, following the British bombing of the historic city of Lübeck. Enraged, Hitler ordered retaliatory strikes against historic British cities, a campaign that came to be called the Baedeker Blitz, after the German Baedeker travel guides. Exeter was one of several historic cities targeted for destruction by the Luftwaffe, the others being Canterbury, York, and where I live, Norwich. Several raids occurred on Exeter, the largest on the 4th of May 1942 when German bombers dropped 100,000 incendiaries and 75 tons of high explosive bombs across the city. The SC-1000 discovered in 2021 was one of several bombs dropped in 1942 that failed to go off. It had lain buried deep underground for 78 years, its fuse still operational, ready to go off if disturbed. In the meantime, a whole series of modern buildings had been built around the site. Police and Army bomb disposal personnel were quickly at the scene, later joined by Royal Navy technicians. The bomb was easily identified, and the Army had extensive experience dealing with all types of German unexploded bombs. However, this was the first SC-1000 that bomb disposal teams had dealt with in 3 years. Making it safe for removal was now the priority. Sometimes such devices are made safe by disabling the bomb's fuse. The bomb can then be safely driven off the site to a safe area and destroyed by a controlled explosion. Another method, developed in World War II and still used today, is steaming the explosives out of the bomb's case, and then rendering the fuse and its detonator safe separately. Steaming is a long and tedious process, lasting several days. However, when bomb disposal personnel examined the Hermann in Exeter, it was clear that due to the deteriorated state of the bomb, it would be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to defuse and safely remove from the site. The fuse was so corroded that experts didn't know which type it was, and whether it was, most importantly, booby-trapped, a common German practice during World War II used to kill bomb disposal teams. Tampering with it was ruled out, and instead it was decided to detonate it in situ. To try and mitigate damage to surrounding properties, a special containment area was constructed around the bomb, using 400 tons of sand and some steel girders to dampen the blast. Additionally, trenches were dug around the bomb area to ensure that ground shock wasn't transmitted very far to cause structural damage to surrounding properties. But whichever way it was looked at, bomb disposal was going to set off a German 1,000-kilogram bomb in the midst of a major English city. And though 2,600 properties surrounding it were evacuated, including 1,400 students from university accommodation, damage would of course be widespread. The bomb was detonated the following day, 27th of February 2021, and few people at the time realized just how big an explosion the Hermann would make, reminding all who saw it of the horrors of German bombing of the city in 1942, where multiple numbers of these demolition bombs rained down on civilians and their properties. Despite people being in air raid shelters, 265 people in Exeter were killed in 19 separate air raids on the city and 687 injured, and thousands of properties destroyed or damaged. Hermann Göring's last attack on Exeter on the 27th of February 2021 caused no human casualties, but a lot of physical damage to surrounding properties. Windows and doors over a wide area imploded, roofs were extensively damaged by flying debris, and some structural damage was done to brick buildings. The university halls of residence being among the hardest hit, rendering some blocks uninhabitable until repairs could be carried out, repairs that in some cases took 10 weeks to complete. The question now was quite a simple one: who pays for all the damage? The University of Exeter took its insurer, Allianz, a German company, to court after Allianz refused to pay out, claiming that the losses fell within the scope of a war exclusion clause. Appealing the ruling, the university took the case before the Court of Appeal, which ruled in favour of Allianz. The university had argued that the cause of the damage to its properties was the British Army's decision to blow the bomb up in situ. However, the Court of Appeal found that the fault was that of the Luftwaffe, not the bomb disposal teams. This meant the case was found for Allianz, as there was a clause in its contract denying liability for loss occasioned by war. There was no negligible actions by the Army or the Navy in its handling of the bomb, and the judges concluded that both the dropping of the bomb in 1942 and its detonation in 2021 were acts of war by the Germans. The university couldn't make a fresh claim against the Luftwaffe, as this organization was disbanded in 1946, and the present Luftwaffe, the German Air Force of today, is not the same organization. The whole sorry saga has left a bad taste in the mouths of many Exeter residents and businesses left to pay for the damage themselves. As I mentioned, no blame was placed by any of the parties on the brave bomb disposal personnel, who took the only decision open to them at the time, detonation in situ. The outcome was all the more ironic, considering the history, that a British university ended up fighting in the courts a German insurance company, a company that had such a close relationship with Hitler during World War II that its Director General, Kurt Schmidt, served as Nazi economics minister. But despite its sketchy past, Allianz was in fact following an established tradition of insurance companies of many nations not paying out for acts of war. In World War II, if your house was bombed, your household insurance would not have paid out. The situation was so bad that the British government set up a scheme to pay post-war compensation for buildings, furniture and clothing damaged by enemy action. From 1941 onwards, it agreed to make advance payments for some bombed-out families. This scheme was very carefully regulated to prevent false claims, and it ended soon after the war. So, if a German bomb explodes today in Britain and damages property, as indeed happened in Exeter in 2021, and is judged, of course, an act of war, the owners are worse off than civilians in World War II, unable to get any financial help or compensation from insurers or the government. And so, as the Court of Appeal has officially called the 2021 detonation of the Hermann bomb in Exeter an act of war, we can say with authority that this is indeed, up to the present, the last World War II Luftwaffe attack on Britain. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share, and also visit my audiobook channel, War Stories with Mark Felton. You can also help to support both of my channels at PayPal and Patreon. Details in the description box below.